Yeah, it's it's going to be interesting to see the way that this stage is set here, Evan, for for this main event, because we've got some guys like Pastrana who are no stranger to the sim. They're going to be starting up front. We've got some guys like Cam Peterson we expected to start all the way in the back. Now Cam Peterson, he's going to be starting a little bit towards the middle here. So we've got some interesting storylines that are kind of shaping up for this very first main event of this double header here with the Pro 2s.
Well, the big thing that I'm looking at is, those heat races were chaotic enough with 13 trucks. We mentioned that there were no eliminations, right? So all 26 drivers advanced to this feature. It's a little bit of a longer race. We go from 10 laps to 15 laps in length for the feature, and there will be that competition caution at halfway to group the field up, Jim. But I don't know if it's possible to fit 26 trucks off it into turn number one. I know you mentioned we saw a couple of the drivers sending it off some of the jumps post-race, and the beauty of the sim is you tear up the virtual truck. There's no check associated with that. That also means that when you're sending 26 trucks off it into the first corner, there isn't a lot of fear in the process. So we may see some very bold moves. There are a lot of the points on the line in these features. The win pays out 50 towards the points.
Well, and speaking of bold moves, looks like we've got a replay of the start from Heat 2, which, like you said, we're going to have double the amount of trucks on the grid this go-around. So it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers survive this lap one, this turn one and turn two chaos here with the Pro 2s at Wild West Motorsports Park. As you see, Biffle gets a little squirrely, and all of a sudden the domino effect happens behind him. And a lot of drivers bumping and banging. Then we head into this turn two, and you saw Lassick and Pastrana both get turned sideways along with Ron Capps. And it's just, it's going to be a lot of trucks on this short track, Evan. I know once we get to Crandon, things will sort itself out. It's almost a 2-mile track. But here at Reno, where it's less than 1 mile, that's a lot of trucks and a tight amount of space.
Yeah, the big house, I think, will give us a little bit more room. To that point, this is one of the smaller tracks of those on the iRacing service, and you thought that looked, crowded even from high above. Just picture double the amount of trucks in it when we do it now for the feature. They're just coming down to the end of a 5-minute warm-up session, Jim. Obviously, the points are weighted in favor of finishing up front, but if you want to earn points in qualifying or earn points in a heat race, you give up track position for the feature. So I'm really interested to see what those sim pros towards the back are going to be able to do in this main event, because this is where you can win or lose this race, right? I mean, we're going to take points from the Pro 2s and the Pro 4 later on. You can't, I don't think, win it now, but you could definitely lose it if you get no points.
Yeah, and that's the key here. They've got to be very patient. They know that there's going to be that competition caution in the middle. So they're going to get a shot to regroup, and they're going to get another shot at the leaders. So, you got to be patient the first couple of turns. We know it's going to be chaotic. We've seen it in the heat races. So they really want to, kind of walk through and pick their way through, not get really aggressive early on. I think they're going to have to let the first lap really kind of play itself out. Then they're going to be able to drop the hammer. They're really going to be able to make up some ground. They're going to be able to pick off some of the drivers, and they're really going to have to wait for that competition caution. Then when things get regrouped, hopefully they can be about halfway through the field. Then it's off and racing for the second half of this race. I'm excited. It's going to be an all-out slugfest here. Tight quarters. We're going to see who's the best of the best in a Pro 2 right now.
And it's easy enough to go into with a game plan on your own when somebody hits you from behind. All bets are off. Let's take a look at your starting grid for the Pro 2 feature from Wild West Motorsports Park. So again, an invert of the heat race finishing results. So Brandon Proudfoot going to find himself out at the top. Bucky Lassick slated for second, but he will have it end of the longest line of penalty and to go to the rear. Rodrigo Ampudia, Travis Pastrana on row number 2 with Joe Lusk and Parker Kligerman through row 3.
And then we've got Landon Castle and Ron Capps. We got Mikey Lawrence, trophy truck racer, along with Greg Biffle. Alan Ampudia, Baja champion there, along with Connor Berry.
And continuing on through, you got the likes of Connor Parise and Dave Bodio through the top 14. Anderson, Nutt, Sant, and Rafferty, but big names towards the rear. You're defending eShort Course World Cup winner from 2020, Cameron Peterson, back in 19th position. And of course, we mentioned Gary Green, who walked away with big money points by winning his heat race. That was an instant 25-point cash out. He is all the way at the rear in 25th position. That is a lot of trucks ready to go racing. Again, 15 laps of competition caution at halfway, and more drivers than points paying positions.
More drivers than points-paying positions. This is a lot of trucks, probably the most we've ever seen here at Wild West Motorsports Park.
20th.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens as, looks like we got one of our drivers pulling off there, backing it up a little bit.
I think that's going to be an EUL. I knew Bucky Vlasic had one. I think Proudfoot also going to get one for not completing enough laps in the heat. So that is to prevent anybody from sandbagging for a good spot on the grid. They were in wrecks though, but still, end of the longest line. They go to the rear. So your front row is now Rodrigo Ampudia to the inside, and the 199 at Travis Pastrana on the outside. As we say, let's get racing from Wild West.
No stranger to this track. We're going to see what he can do out front. And Travis Pastrana, the 199. Look at them avoid that chaos and carnage there. A lot of bumping and banging. It doesn't look like anybody got spun around quite yet. Don't want to say that too early. It looks like that is, I believe, Connor Berry there in the CBR truck bumping and banging there. And Ron Capps up on the bike. We've got, that's Capps up and over.
That's the second time he's been on his lid before turn number 3 in these races. And I saw Pastrana was real aggressive with the push. There's Landon Castle, and another flip more towards the rear.
Who was that?
Castle going to be door banging side by side and battling with Travis Pastrana for second and third. Further down the road, they cycle out and to the top of the board in this one, and ahead of all of the chaos. How about Joe Lusk? He is 0-3 after lap 1.
Yeah, Joe Lusk managed the madness here, and he's got the entire track to himself at this point. Looks like we've got Parker Clearman, I believe, on the hunter, but man, look at Lusk. I don't know how he survived that. How any of these drivers did at this point, but you got to give him a lot of credit there because it is nothing but clean sailing for now. But the key here is there's so many trucks on the track, Evan, that they're going to get into lap traffic really quick.
And one thing I'm noticing that is a big development is that Cameron Peterson is in the pits. Your defending champion from 2020, in which he won everything, the heats, the features, and all that. He is to the pits early in this Pro 2 feature. I said you can't win it now, but you could certainly lose it. There is a huge amount of points that Peterson is going to miss out on here, and that may end his hopes of repeating it before they even began.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the way that plays out. As Highrider, he's got his elbows out tonight. We saw that in the heat races, and we're seeing it again. A lot of bumping and banging out of Highrider. It's going to be interesting to see if there's any retaliation at some point. But that 512 truck, look at
they got a few of them.
Got one of the Aprilia trucks. That's Travis Pastrana, the 199 there.
And upside down is Rodrigo Ampudia on his lid. So that was about 3 trucks that got hooked together and couldn't get off. And that's as good of a segue as any to get Tiffany Stone back into the conversation. And to the point that I made when we came back for the start of this feature was that we were curious if those aggressive heats were going to be kind of indicative of what we'd see in this feature. And it has lived up to the tail of the tape in a lot of physicality.
I completely agree with you. I think everything is going really, really well right now. The 3 wide, the 4 wides, that's what really gets me. And being able to see Parker Kligerman get it up into second, especially after what he went through, I really feel like a lot of them were just understanding the track, understanding how many trucks are there. When you have, over 20 plus trucks on this, anything could happen. One little turn this way, one little turn that way, and it all comes together, and it seems like it did for Parker.
And another beauty about sim racing as we go on board here back in traffic with Sean Stratton is that, Jim, he doesn't cost the practice. So I'm sure there's some drivers in here who have, maybe 50 laps of practice or so. There's probably others that have close to 50 hours knowing that this is a big event and they want to win it, right? So it is certainly paying off, but nothing can prepare you for when you go out there and race with 24 other trucks on your door.
Yeah, well, and that's the truth. We saw it with Cam Peterson. I mean, he's the fastest in the world. He has all the track records. Everybody, by and large, respects him as the top short course driver in the world. And here he is in the pits, and he's out, and it's a tough break for Cam Peterson. But like you said, you can be really great all by yourself, but when you mix in, 24 trucks on the same track, a lot can happen, as we saw heat race winner there, Gary Green, now up and over.
Gary Green was maybe one of the closest drivers, if not the overall points leader, coming into this after he won his heat, but he just got turned there by Sean Stratton. You can drop Gary Green down to 20th. That is the last points paying position. There's the look off of the back of him in second. He is under fire by Connor Berry. So far, they keep it clean. It's a battle that's about 2 seconds off the race leader, Joe Lusk, closing in on that midway yellow. Berry's going to cross him off into turn number 2. But so far, they stay off each other.
Yeah, you get that on board with Parker. He's got his lean going on. I love that. That's something we're going to have to ask him about later on. But he's got one of the drivers leaning on him pretty hard right now. That's Connor Berry. One of those, looks like he's trying to get a fender on him under one of these corners and see if he can sneak his way in there. But Parker, he's a NASCAR driver in the real world. He's used to bumping and banging a bit.
You can see he's very active as well, talking with his crew or his spotter. I'm sure he's got a whole host of buddies in the sim with him. It's not just these drivers. You can have a real-life spotter or team communications like you would in real-life competition. And at that moment, caution. You can see the ticker, top left corner of your screen, has turned yellow. So that is our competition caution for this Pro 2 feature race. So we will slow things down. And that nice comfy 2+ second advantage that Joe Lusk had that we were talking about is going to fall away. They'll race to catch up to the iRacing official pace truck, and we'll basically have about a 6-lap, 7-lap sprint race or so, depending on how long it takes to get these guys wrangled in. 25 started, 19 of them are still on the lead lap at this moment. And they do have the ability, we talk about the uniqueness of sim racing, Jim, is they can come in and get a fast repair. So some of the drivers towards the back of the field that may have been damaged, iRacing can turn those off. So with a lot of official competition, if your truck's damaged or if your car's damaged, whenever you're racing, you can't just magically fix it. You got to sit in the box and let it get fixed, time accordance with the damage. But at least here, drivers with issues can get them fixed up pretty quickly, Tiffany.
No, I agree with that. And some people that we're going to look at beyond that is going 5 and below. Ronnie Anderson is a pro driver, and I love seeing what he can do out here. He's been in a handful of races before, and what's so great about this is, a lot of these drivers that are not sim drivers and pro drivers have raced on this particular track and later on going into a Pro 4 as well. But with this one specifically, there's a lot of great turns, and being able to really read that, and like you said, your spotter is going to be a definite key in this, especially in the second half of the race.
And it's short, right? I mean, in theory and on paper, it's a 15-lap race, Jim. In reality, it's more like 2 6-lap sprints. So we talk about there being more time than those heats. This is your opportunity, right? You close in, but that chaotic start, it's going to repeat itself right now.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to be repeating itself. We're single file now instead of side by side, but we're definitely going to have a little chaos in turn 1 and turn 2. These drivers know this is the last chance. There's no more cautions. If that leader stretches his gap, it's going to be really tough to catch him after this. So I think we're going to see maybe Parker Kligerman try and put a move there on Lusk. Parker's been very patient, sitting there in the second spot. I can see him pushing Lusk, and we can't count out Connor Berry or Ampudia there in the 4th spot. This is Alan Ampudia, who may make a move there as well. So, it's going to be really interesting here as we go to green flag.
10 points for the fastest time in qualifying is nice. 25 points for winning your heat race is nice. But you want to know what's better than both of those? 50 for winning a feature. That is the payout for a feature race win. 40 to second, 35 to third. There's your on board with that 10 of Alan Ampudia. Started 11th up to 4th position. One of the bigger movers. As the lights on the pace truck are out, we will spread things out. We'll set them up 2 by 2, and we will do it again. So Lusk are going to have the inside advantage of that run down to turn number 1. Kligerman on his outside. It's Barry, Ampudia, and Parise inside of the top 5. And here's his brother, who's had a bit of a night to forget one lap down, back in position number 20 thus far. That's the final points paid position. Pace truck, it is set sail. Field in the hands of Joe Lusk. It's a restart. 6 laps to go.
They're going to go up into this really tight turn number 1. We're going to start seeing them drift out wide. The driver's going to be leaning on each other there. Looks like Lusk going to get through clean. Ampudia through. Looks like they're going to drop spots there. As Barry gets by him.
How about some 5 wide? A spin towards the back as a couple of trucks got turned. More spins now as Trenton Briley is on his lid and barrel rolling into turn number 3. So the chaos off of the restarts continues, but you said it there. Big winner is going to be Connor Berry, who ends up in 2nd. Alan Ampudia goes to 3rd. Kligerman's in 4th, and a great battle behind those 2 for 5th.
Yeah, we've got Proudfoot now up into the 5th spot there, it looks like. And, he was one that, had to go all the way to the back of the grid for the start of this main event. So, he's moved up some, some 15 spots at this point, 15, 20 spots to get where he's at. So, you got to give him a lot of credit. He's driving a strong race.
A spin towards the back. I saw Connor Parise just get turned, and here's 2 of the drivers in this battle. Parker Kligerman and Alan Ampudia. The 77 Kligerman doing the chasing right now, as it looks like Parker a bit more concerned with maybe what's behind him than what's in front, because I saw a big send by Brandon Proudfoot into 1. There's about a truck length and a half difference between those 2, but you can see Proudfoot's 22 right there. Again, throwing it into the bottom. Bit of a shot into the door. Doing everything he can to rough up that 77 to get on him. They're all over each other down the front stretch.
Yeah, you got to love this, this in car here. We've got, you got Parker Kligerman, a NASCAR driver. You got Alan Ampudia there, a Baja champion. I mean, how many disciplines can you mix a real-world NASCAR driver and a Baja champion from a year ago into the same race? I love this. Both of them running strong in the top 5.
One of my favorite things I think about the sim is you can see some beating and banging up the road in a battle for the lead, because the 5.28 of Connor Berry looking to the outside on Lusk for the lead is, all these drivers can likely drive the cars they drive in real life, these crossover stars, if they want, in a very professional setting. But a lot of the appeal is you can get out there and drive whatever you want. The 14, the 512, that's Heidritter and Ambrosius all over each other. But as we look to the front, it is a new race leader off at turn 4. Connor Berry to the race lead with 3 laps left to go.
Wow, you got to give this one credit. He's had to battle his way all the way up there. Lusk, one of the sim pros. Connor Berry, I would consider him borderline sim pro at this point. He also drives a lot of off-road trucks and short course in the real world. But to get around a veteran like Lusk, you got to give him a lot of credit. That is not an easy task.
Here's a slide because Lusk does not want him to get away, throwing it to the bottom. But unlike some of the other battles, they've kept it clean. Maybe a slight touch that time off of 1. But Lusk has not resorted to putting the bumper to him yet. Big difference between the 50 points for the feature race win and the 40 that come for finishing in 2nd. But Lusk really going to lose some time that time off of 4. Now 2 laps to go. The battle for 3rd starting to draw in just a little bit. Proudfoot 3rd, Ampudia 4th. No change, but Parker Kligerman still P5.
Yeah, Kligerman's still there in P5. Barry out front, getting hunted by Lusk. Got Proudfoot now into the 3rd spot. Lusk and Proudfoot, couple of teammates here. Maybe we're going to see a little action here with the teammates. Looks like Lusk there getting into the fender there. Connor Berry just let him know, was there enough to upset the truck that Lusk could slip by? We're going to see if Connor Berry's got a little something to come back and get around the Lusk again. In a try and behind them, I thought I saw the 48 of Peterson in a battle, but it was not for a position. Remember, he was forced to pit road. Peterson is a lap down in 17th. That's big in the storyline for the points. Here's the move to the bottom, side by side for 2nd, looking for the white flag in the Pro 2 feature. Proudfoot, he's got the position. Does it work? all the way to the bottom. It looks like he just slipped by Barry. He's going to slam the door. It looks like he's going to try and pinch Barry off there. Barry going to go all the way back down to the bottom now with Lusk and Proudfoot.
And for the lead now, contact with Joe Lusk, who opened up the door, 3 wide for the race lead.
Wow, this is some good racing there as Proudfoot dropping all the way to the bottom now, trying the outside-inside as he clips the K-rail, almost goes up on the bike. Connor Berry trying to out-drag race Lusk to this next corner.
2-horse race, 1 corner to go. And inside, Joe Lusk going to put the slide and shuts the door on Connor Berry. Proudfoot going to move in. They'll beat and bang for second, but up at the front, Joe Lusk survives to win the Pro 2 feature at Wild West.
Wow, what a shootout there in that last lap. Proudfoot, Berry, Lusk, 3-truck race. Going 3 wide at that. What an amazing bit of action there to cap off, I guess, our first main event of the evening.
All the way through 14th, battling to the start-finish line. That was Trenton Briley using the catch fence after the race, just beating out Connor Parise. 14th and 15th were about 20 seconds off of the battle for the lead, and there it is. Joe Lusk was very comfortable at the white flag, but it got a little bit dicey real quick. He holds on, gets the 50 points. Connor Berry, Brandon Proudfoot, Alan Ampudia, and Luke Cadup, your top 5 finishers, going to get the max points. Kligerman in P6, along with Ronnie Anderson, Bobby Sant Jr., James Ambrosius, and Holton Heitritter.
And one of the kind of impressive things about this top 10 is you've got a mix of sim pros. You've got a mix of real-world off-road drivers, and you've got a mix of crossover drivers with a guy like Parker Kligerman. It's really an interesting, diverse, set of drivers.